Today we're looking at another great piece of Italian footwear in the form of the Dolomite Crodarossa Pro GTX 2. We all know that the Italians are really good at exporting good outdoor footwear, and normally we would associate that with the two big hitters. That's La Sportiva and Scarpa if you were trying to guess. There are a few other dark horses in Italy that make exceptional footwear. Dolomite is definitely one of those companies. Over the past few years, Dolomite actually has a really good reputation with the UKC staff and has produced some footwear that we've all enjoyed reviewing. When I first got these out of the box, I have to be honest, I sort of actually thought that they would be brilliant in nice sunny Alps, but wasn't totally convinced that they would be ideal for British mountains. However, after several months of use, and use in lots of locations and lots of mountains across the UK, I've actually found these to be really suitable for the UK, and overall they've turned out to be a great British summer scrambling boot. Dolomite actually talk about the Crodarossa as an approach shoe or sort of approach boot, but in a lot of respects I think that's actually underselling what this boot is. In my eyes, this is actually a great technical scrambling boot that can be used in all different locations and mountains within the UK. I think as soon as you put these boots on your feet, you realise that they are far more than an approach shoe or something to just get you to the crag. They definitely have that like full mountain feel, and you can sort of tell they were developed in the big mountains of the Alps. First of all, they have a really substantial Vibram Sole on them, and that sole unit is made out of that Mega Grip compound. Mega Grip is sort of a particularly good choice for the UK as it performs really well on wet and dry rock, so it gives you like that nice even balance, which, let's face it, when you go on classic scrambles within the UK, you tend to hit a lot of wet rock and dry rock all within a few hours of each other. The grip pattern within the Vibram sole is well suited as well to our mountain environments. There's some good solid deep lugs for dealing with wetter conditions, and then despite there not being a specific climbing zone at the front of the boot, it sort of does have this big flat area which is more than sort of stable enough to edge and move around on rock. The heel is not the biggest heel in the world, but there's definitely enough grip and break. And the midsole is a stiff midsole. It's not quite like a B1 boot, it's probably a notch down from that, but there is a certain amount of padding in there. Now, I don't know if you've ever tried to walk across sort of like big slabby paths that lead up onto some of our classic mountains within the UK. You know, if you try to do that in a stiff mountain boot, it's pretty unpleasant. This actually does a really good job of sort of being a halfway house. The sole unit is definitely stiff to go scrambling and move around on technical ground, but if you do need to walk on those paths, you can actually do that for a reasonable length of time without your feet or your knees feeling like they're going to break. The general spacing in the toe box is also sort of well suited to being like a technical, lighter weight mountain boot. There's space in there. It's not overly large, but once your feet warm up on a hot day, there's room for them to expand, or if you've been walking for a few hours, it feels comfortable. But the one thing I do actually like about this toe box particularly is the line of sight, which means when you look past the toe, you can see exactly where you're going to stand. So as soon as you do get into that technical ground, you can actually be very precise. One of the sort of initial striking features of this boot when you get it out of the box is the fabric upper. It looks unusual and it's sort of got this weird tough feeling to it. And actually after a number of months of use, it stood up to a lot of abuse. So this fabric is a really good fabric called Super Fabric. Yep, that's actually the name of the fabric. So this super fabric is a woven fabric with tiny guard plates on the surface. This is a sort of great combination of softness that you might get from like a leather product and some of the performance that you might get from other synthetic products. It's sort of like a nice halfway house. It is definitely more durable than other synthetics that I've come across, and is less bulky than a lot of other leather products as well. So all in all, it's sort of a nice combination for a technical boot like this. The one thing I've also noticed about this super fabric is that not only is the durability really good, but it's very easy to maintain as well. Actually, just a quick scrub under a tap or some Nick Wax or Granger's wash just brings them almost back to new again. After several months of hammering them, the fabric in general, I mean, it looks used, which you would expect it to, but it's actually still in really, really good condition. There's barely a mark or a scratch on it. And the fact that you can clean this fabric so easily is definitely a big benefit. The Crodarossa Pro also comes with a full GoreTex liner, and I sort of like GoreTex liners in lighter synthetic boots like this. I think it definitely helps with getting heat out, so not having a big bulky upper to hold on to water and mud allows heat to definitely get out easier. And I think when it comes to waterproofness, I think the whole system tends to work better, actually not under like a big leather upper. So all in all, GoreTex is GoreTex. You're always going to get sweaty feet to a degree, but it definitely does keep your feet dry, and I think it performs sort of really well in a system like this that they've created in this Dolomite boot. The whole lacing system is actually held in place by these little Dyneema loops, and these work really well in the fact that when you pull the boot tight and you pull those laces in, they actually grab hold of the lace and hold them into position. One of my main concerns with the loops was that the wear was going to be super high, and I was going to start noticing that, particularly after putting my feet into sort of rocky cracks and using it in sort of high abrasion situations. But I've had absolutely no issues at all. So, all in all, this Crodarossa Pro is not what I thought it was going to be. It's not that alpine specific boot. It's actually very, very good in the UK. I think there's a nice combination of a lot of things going on here. I've used this boot a lot and will probably continue to use it a lot because it's everything that I like doing in the mountains. I'm also going to take these to the Alps in the next few weeks, and I feel like they're probably going to come into their own as much there as they have done on technical ground in the UK.